All right, here we go again. Another Zoom call for the 2nd of March, 2022. Um, just some biblical reminders of our walk here through our difficulties, and remember what we're really here to do and serve God in all things, even through our perseverance of struggles that we have dealing with. Also a reminder, which I do every time I do the Zoom call, and if you do have questions, to look on our blog, just go to our website and use that little search little thing, and you could type in something. If we don't have anything on that on our website, then certainly ask your liaison, or if you need clarification, you can ask your liaison through an email or schedule an appointment with her, or schedule an appointment with Michelle and I, or jump on the Zoom call and ask the question there. So lots of different ways to get questions answered. So excited that we're getting this back office thing done. I think it's going to be a really huge added benefit. I started making a whole bunch of frequently asked question videos that go over a lot of detail of different things. So the questions that are most commonly asked on these Zoom calls that sometimes we tend to repeat ourselves will be answered on short little couple-minute videos that could be really easily accessed in that back office when we get that done. So that'll be a nice little addition for everybody, I think. First question. Could you talk about coffee enemas? What type? How often? What are the benefits? I did see some information on your website. Well, that's good, because we probably have 6 or 7 blog posts on coffee enemas and probably 3 more pages on coffee enemas on our website. There's plenty of information on coffee enemas on our website, and a whole bunch of information in my Stop Fighting Cancer book and on my new book. Oh, by the way, if you want information on detoxification, I have a new book that just came out just a couple weeks ago called The 7 Phases of Detox. And that's available as a free download on the website too. So make sure that you look at that. That could be beneficial. Coffee enemas, again, are something that we use the last person that just jumped on, I'm going to ask you to unmute yourself, because I need you to identify yourself, if you will, as well, because the name is another coming up as a staff person. So can you unmute yourself, the person that I just asked, and tell me who you are?
Oh, hi. This is Claudia Vogren.
Okay, I have you, so you're
okay.
good.
Okay.
You're good. I asked another person.
This is Bob again, Doctor.
Oh, did you just jump back on again, or are you just on a different device?
No, same, nothing changed.
I'm his sister, Judy. I'm the one that wrote the question. So
so both of you are coming up as Angie's name. How crazy is that? Well, Angie will get a good kick out of that, and she'll send you a free t-shirt probably. So.
All right.
Yay.
All right, so I'm gonna mute you again. I was just curious because I told her last week that, Angie, how come you were on twice? She goes, I wasn't on at all. All right, so that just thought, what in the world's going on with Zoom? So coffee enemas, why would a person do coffee enemas? Are they beneficial for everybody? The answer is yes, they are beneficial for everybody, but not everybody has to do them. The purpose of doing a coffee enema is to stimulate your parasympathetic nervous system. Parasympathetics, again, are extremely important. Again, go back to the site here and search in this bar parasympathetics, and you can see a short video that I talk about the balance between sympathetics and parasympathetics. And if you don't know those 2 words, you should. So you don't need to be a neurologist to understand some neurology, and that's neurology that's really helpful to understand. So search para, P-A-R-R, P-A-R-A, sympathetic. So just search that and you'll come up with a page about that. Well, that's the reason why you would do coffee enemas. Number 1 reason. Yes, coffee enemas can help if you have some bowel blockage or something. Oh, well, then I don't need to do it because I have some diarrhea. Well, still do coffee enemas because they'll stimulate your parasympathetics The reason why you want to stimulate parasympathetics, in short, is to stimulate your immune system and your detoxification pathways. Couple questions in this slide. John Ellis water machines, are they good? So last week we talked about hydrogen water. John Ellis water machine is a type of water machine that uses hydrogen to infuse the water. Yeah, they can be good. So there's other brands of hydrogen infused water. There's other brands of hydrogen machines that you could use as a nasal cannula also. So not getting the hydrogen through the water, but you're breathing in the hydrogen. So there can be benefits to that's an antioxidant. You do it to know that it's probably not best to do that if you're doing chemo, at least within that 48-hour window of doing chemo. You probably shouldn't do hydrogen or hydrogen water if you're doing chemo for 48 hours after your chemo infusion. If you're doing a chemo pill, a daily chemo pill, then I would just say stay 4 to 6 hours away from the chemo pill when you do your hydrogen water or your hydrogen via a nasal cannula. If I get rashes, itching of the skin, is that a detox reaction? Am I detoxing too fast? Not necessarily. Can it be? Yeah, it can be. You can be detoxing through the skin. That can cause a rash. More likely than that, it's more likely a histamine reaction. So there's just too many possibilities. You can get rashes from funguses. You can get rashes from viruses. You can get rashes from histamine. That's the most common type of rash. But the cause of a histamine reaction can vary. That could, like a poison ivy rash is a histamine rash, but it's because of the oil in the plant of the poison ivy plant. So no, I wouldn't say that rashes are detoxifying reaction. It can be. The other reason for rashes with cancer patients is high bilirubin content. So if you have any sort of blockage in your bile duct, another good reason to do coffee enemas, you could have elevated bilirubin levels, and elevated bilirubin levels will cause itchiness and scratching, itching skin, where it can drive you crazy and you can itch to the point of bleeding. So you want to get to the bottom of what the cause of the rash is. It could be different for everybody. So not an easy question to answer simply. Next question. Recently, over the past few weeks, I've occasionally had an uneasy, unsettling sensation come over my body, mostly in my chest. It might be a vibrating sensation. I'm not sure. It's like a wave that lasts for a minute or two. It comes on slowly and gets stronger and more intense, then weaker and fades out. My guess, it has something to do with 5G or EMFs. I may be wrong. Any thoughts? It certainly could. So you want to start investigating, like, okay, is there a certain spot in my house that I get it? Am I close to my phone when I get it? Am I closer to my smart meter when I get it? Is there, am I close to my Wi-Fi when I get it? So how you get exposure to EMFs, we're all exposed to EMFs no matter what type of protection you are doing at your home, you're exposed to EMFs. There's no way of getting around it. But EMFs are cumulative. The effects of EMFs are cumulative, meaning that if you have your Wi-Fi on, you have your cell phone near you, you're near your smart meter cover, you live in a house with an adjacent wall, like a townhouse, to your neighbor who has Wi-Fi on the adjacent wall, and they have their smartphone there, that cumulative effect can cause symptoms. Some people are more sensitive to EMFs. There's not an exact science why. There's some knowledge that certain genetic SNP defects can cause a person to be more sensitive to EMFs. There's belief that if your phase angle, meaning your cell membrane charge, happens to be lower because of other illness, other disease, other things that bring down your cell membrane charge. If that's the case, you're going to become more you're going to be more sensitive to EMFs. Women tend to be more sensitive to EMFs in general than men, and I don't know if it has to do with hormone levels. I don't know if it has to do with simply their weight is typically lower than men. So it's the cumulative effect on their body weight. They don't have as much resistance against it. But EMFs can cause this very thing. People with chronic Lyme issues, people with chronic mold issues tend to have this type of sensation quite commonly. And I do know that people with chronic Lyme, chronic biotoxin illness, are much more sensitive to environmental toxins like EMFs. So there's not a true science on why. I would just say, just try to see if there's any correlation to a greater level of exposure at different times. And then there's not a perfect way to, if it is EMFs, there's not a perfect way to mitigate that. You just have to do the best you can, because you're never going to get rid of them. You just have to do your best you can to put your phone in one of those protective sleeves that we sell. Turn your phone off. That's a huge help. Turn your Wi-Fi off. See if you get less of those sensations. Can another person's energy affect kinesiology results? Someone came over to my place the morning. She did the morning, was talking about a second person, that she did the AK cheek swab. The person is an energy drain. The patient's plants all wilted after the person was there, and that is how she felt as well. Boy, that's kind of sad. She did the cheek swab after that. Well, you know, we are going to pick up your energy after that. So that it's not that that person's energy interfered with it, but if that person's energy dropped your energy down, the patient's energy down, certainly we're going to be reading it at that point. So it might be good to just get that rechecked. Well, that's really sad. Your plants all wilted after that person was there. And that tells you something. I mean, we know that just negative energy from a person can just drain and suck the life out of you. And certainly demonic spirits do exist, and that can be an issue as well. So that is a good thing maybe to get rechecked. Another question, would it be a good idea to do a complete Dutch test to check for hormones? This person has breast cancer. So for anybody on here that doesn't know what a Dutch test is, a Dutch test is a dried hormone test. That's the best type of test to test for hormones. So I just made a video on other tests that you could do. So if you want that video, it's not going to be available to the public. So request it through your liaison and they can send you a link to that video. I could put it up on here for everybody to see it, but then you'd have to copy down that link and that would be hard. Here's the link right here. Let's actually put the video up there. So that's the video. So I didn't want to put the video, but the video goes over, and I'm not going to play it right now because it's about a 20-minute video. Goes over, should I do other tests? What other tests to do? Let me just blow it up because this is a page that I could just talk about. And the one test that we do, Dutch test, would fall under functional labs. And the Dutch test I put in a bold white because that would be one test that we often do recommend for women that have hormone-related cancers. It's can be beneficial to do that test. Now, we do not recommend that for everybody. And the reason why we don't recommend the Dutch test for everybody, well, I have ER positive or PR positive cancer. Why don't you recommend that for me? Because the truth is, in all the years doing the Dutch test, if we're treating that person and treating them with products like DIM and I3C and different things that will reduce quote unquote bad estrogens, when we do the Dutch test, it's all within normal range. So we don't see a spike of 4-hydroxyestrogens in the Dutch test. You just don't. I've very rarely seen that. The only times I've seen that is in people who didn't have cancer because they weren't treating to pull out negative estrogens. Now there's more and more information out there, from all sorts of alternative circles about treating your body and taking care of exogenous estrogens. We don't want exogenous estrogens. We're exposed to them on a daily basis, and you do everything you can to pull out those exogenous estrogens from your environment. So more and more people are conscious of that. They're being careful of plastics and different things that can, and pesticides and things that can produce an increase of these bad estrogens. So we're not seeing as many imbalances as we used to years ago. So it's not a test that needs to be done. And it's rarely a test that really shows a lot that really changes our treatment plan. So, but if you, for curiosity's sake, if a person wants to get that done, you can. We can order it for you. It's around $300. But if you have triple negative, or if you don't have a hormone-driven cancer, there really is much less need to do that test. There's other tests that I talk about in this video, like doing a CBC and a complete metabolic panel and doing tumor marker tests that I think are better worth your money. Now, if you can't get, and if you need this video, ask your liaison and they can email it, the link to you. If you can't get those tests run by your doctor, or you don't want to, or your insurance doesn't cover it anyhow, we can order those tests. A tumor marker panel for females is about $75 plus the draw fee. A CBC complete metabolic panel, and the panel that we typically run is a much more complete metabolic panel. It's an expanded metabolic panel. It runs, depending on what we want to look at, about the same amount. I think it's like $80. And if you want to throw in the whole lipid panel and a complete hormone panel together, that's the expanded panel. It's about $150. So it's not that expensive. And the draw fee, if you're close to a LabCorp draw site, it's like $7 for the blood draw. So if you want those tests done, we can order those tests for you. We have no upcharge in the test. It's just the cost of the test. You pay them directly. The only cost is going over the test. If you have abnormalities that you can't understand and you want to go over the test with me or Michelle, then there's just the office fee for time going over that. Next question in this slide is, what are the BX programs for on the Rife machine? Most of the BX frequencies are in all of your programs because those are standard cancer programs that we do right and put in a lot of your programs, but they're just different cancer frequencies. You can run them separately if you want. They're in the general folder. But again, you have limited amount of time, and I don't want you just sitting under your Rife 24/7 either, but it's something you can play with some of those general frequencies as well. Next question. I've had 28 pelvic radiation treatments and have developed pretty major blisters, ulcers in my vaginal area that are very painful. It's excruciating to urinate, but they hurt with movement. They are weeping a clear fluid with mixed with blood. My mom mentioned Optivida silver gel. I ordered some, but wasn't sure if it's something that I should use while still in treatment. like it could interact in a bad way with the radiation. No, I don't think that would interact in a bad way with the radiation. I hope that you spoke to your radiation oncologist, because they do have a anti-inflammatory cream that they typically recommend with radiation burns. You need to communicate that with them. I don't know who this person is, so I haven't communicated with them. This just came in on an email. But I know, I believe the creams that they recommend are steroid creams, and that's maybe not something that you want to use. I don't believe that silver gel or arnica cream or turmeric cream or anything like that will interfere, but certainly talk to your radiation oncologist. But those are some of the things that I would consider. I would definitely use some topical things to get that skin healing. Think of it as a really, really bad sunburn. I would think of aloe type products. You want to get something as pure as possible. Maybe even use and get an aloe plant, slit open the leaf and do the pure gel right on there. That's probably maybe one of your best bets. If you want to have a consult, make sure you call and just talk to me about that too. I have a lot of hair loss, and I have decided to use BioCell Collagen. Since I have to be careful about glutamate, I was wondering if I could use BioCell Collagen. Now, I didn't know what BioCell Collagen was, so I had to look it up. It's a liquid collagen that seemed fine to use. Of course, we're not testing it on you, but it seemed perfectly fine to use. I think that would be just fine. How often will I need my Rife machine frequency reprogrammed? Great question. That's a common question. I actually made a video about this too. How often should I get retested? How often should I get my Rife machine reprogrammed? The answer to that is number one, if you started with us and you're doing well and you're moving in the right direction, then I wouldn't change the Rife machine frequencies at all. Number two, if you started with us, you seem to be doing okay, but then now 3 months later, you got another test and you don't feel well, and whatever that test was, it's showing progression of the cancer, then you need to do a cheek swab. We'll test your nutrition, we'll test your Rife frequency programming. But when you send in the cheek swab sheet with your name on it and what you want us to test, please ask, could you please check my frequencies and check that. You need to make sure you're asking what you want us to recheck, because your retest is based upon time too. So if you want us to recheck absolutely everything and it takes us an hour to do so, you're going to have to be charged for that. So if you just ask what you want to be rechecked. So if we have some patients that started with us and we have never reprogrammed their Rife machine, we have a lot of patients that in that category, honestly, because they're doing better and it's like, well, I'm not changing anything. So it's really, if you start to do worse, or you never really turn the corner to get better, then we need to just retweak things, relook at things. That's our promise to you, is that we're never going to stop digging. We're never going to stop looking. Our promise to you is not that we're going to cure you. We don't cure you. That's God's choice and that's God's decision. But our promise to you is we're just never going to stop trying to tweak things. So understand that. And the other promise that we have to you is that we're going to try to educate you and teach you, the things that we know so that you can best take care of yourself. But we're not going to, give you a college education either. So you have to understand that balance as well. So we're not here to, we're here to give you as much information as we possibly can, but there's a balance with that as well. Next question. How do I know if I should do a parasite cleanse? Well, that's a good question. Well, the most perfect way to know if you should do a parasite cleanse is you do a stool sample test for parasites to see if you have parasites that you need to cleanse. But I say that tongue in cheek because it's still not a perfect way to test because you still could have false negatives on a parasite test. So we could do kinesiology testing, whether you have parasites, and then suggest a specific nutrient. But I'm assuming that the person that asked this question is in a relative state of remission of their cancer, and now they're trying to deal with other things. I get that. That's what we're here for too. So if you're in a relative state of remission of your cancer and you're doing really well, and now you're like, hey, I need to get rid of this candida issue that I've had for 10 years, or I think I might have parasites because my gut is whatever your symptoms are. Well, by all means, send in a cheek swab and said, could you just check for this? So we get that all the time. We got that during COVID season. Could you just check? I'm just feeling really lousy and see if it's the cancer or see if it's a virus. By all means, we can do that as well. We can run other functional medicine labs as well if you so desire to do that. Of course, there's that cost to that. I'm sorry, there's a couple chats that came in here too that I didn't see. Can you take turmeric with lumbrozyme? Yes, you could take turmeric with lumbrozyme, absolutely. And is each recheck swab or Rife update billable, and is it based upon time it takes to test that, right? Absolutely, that's what it is. Usually, we charge for one visit, usually, unless it just gets extensive, and then it's going to be for 2 visits. So, and then my oncologist wants me to do a biopsy. Your thoughts? Well, again, a biopsy is going to give them a determination of the cell type of whatever they're biopsying so that they will know how to treat it from a standard of medicine protocol. So if you're going to use standards of medicine and you're going to use chemotherapy and radiation or surgery, then you have to do a biopsy. So if your answer to that is, well, no, I'm not going to do that anyhow, well, then why do the biopsy? Maybe in your mind, you're just like dying of curiosity to know what this new spot is or whatever, then that's your choice too. But if you have any inkling that, well, if I knew that this was cancer, then I might do some chemo, well, then you need to do a biopsy. So biopsies carry some inherent risk, but all in all, it depends on how close the tumor is to the surface and depends on where it is. So we probably should set up an appointment, talk about that to get more details about that. Where is the cheek swab worksheet? It isn't mentioned in my notebook. Ask Ann or Ashley to send that to you. That's another reason why we got to get this back office done. So you guys will have all these downloadable things. It's in everybody's. So as we upgrade and update the 3-ring binder, not everybody has those updates, so that's what we'll have in the back office as well, which will make it nice to have that information. I'll have to ask Ann and Ashley where they have that because I thought that was on the website. Oh, if you order the things on the website, you should be getting those worksheets too. But ask your liaison and they'll email you one real easy. Next question. I have detoxing in the middle of the night while using the Rife. Is swelling common to experience in the tumor when using the Rife? So understand, I just copy and paste these questions right from email. So I'm not sure. I have detoxing in the middle of the night while using the Rife. Well, how are you defining that detoxing? Are you having sweats, night sweats at night? Are you having, depends on what you're defining as detoxing in the middle of the night. Maybe it's the next piece. Is swelling common to experience when the tumor when using the Rife? It can be. So in a breast cancer so here's the deal. So acute swelling is an immune reaction. So acute swelling, acute inflammation is an immune reaction. So when your immune system is attacking a cancer, let's say we do another CT scan at that time and you're having this huge inflammatory immune attack of the cancer, you could actually see a CT scan and say, wow, it was 3.2 centimeters previous, and now it's 4.3 centimeters. It's growing in size. And that is truly just what's called a pseudo increase in the tumor. It's actually the immune system attacking the cancer. So it appears that the cancer is enlarged. That would be called swelling around the tumor. How do you know if you have a pseudo increase of the tumor or a real increase of the tumor? That's a very difficult question to answer because there isn't a perfect science with that. We don't know that. And I often share different experiences that we've had with this where the radiation or some type of scans were done, MRI or CT scan, and it showed an increase in size, but it was actually simply an immune response to the cancer. The person wasn't having any other signs or symptoms. And then over time that dissipated and the tumor shrunk. So you can't use just one objective finding, whether that be an objective finding of, wow, it feels larger. Is that good or bad? Well, we don't know. It could feel larger because the immune system is attacking it. So you have an increase inflammatory response around the cancer. Now, if it stays larger and continues to get larger and get larger, then that's not a good sign. But you also correlate that objective finding with other objective and subjective findings too. Well, I'm feeling a lot more tired. I don't feel well. I have just pain in other spots and my fatigue has increased. And well, then that correlates to maybe the cancer is growing and it's not enlarged in a pseudo type situation, but it's enlarged because the cancer is actually growing. Other flip side is, well, my tumor in my breast feels a little larger, but I'm feeling much better. My fatigue is gone. My nausea is gone. Your other signs and symptoms have improved. Well, then you correlate that back through a series of differential diagnosis as you're trying to come up with the outcome of what's really going on. So to answer the question, is swelling common to experience in the tumor when using the Rife? Yes, it is. And that's really what we want to take place. So we want an immune response to that cancer. That's what we're trying to do. So just be aware of that you could get that. What do you charge for a cheek swab? We addressed that earlier. We charge based upon time. Usually it's 15 minutes. The cost of the cheek swab itself, if you order that on the store, we send that out. There's no charge for that, but the test is what we charge for, and that's based upon time. I'm having really bad sweats, no reason, both day and nights, very debilitating. Where do I start to find out how to fix? It'd be a good idea to get some blood work done. Really bad sweats can be due to hormone imbalance due to cancer growth. And we really want to get to the bottom of this. You need to make an appointment with me ASAP, and we could talk about that. Or make an appointment with your liaison ASAP, and we could talk about that because we want to get to the bottom of that. That is not normal unless you're going through menopause at the same time. So that's a possibility, but we want to make sure what's going on. Can we use rapid immune boost without stopping, or we have to take a break? So rapid immune boost is an herbal product by Herb Farm. And it's got echinacea and some other stuff in it. So the only perfect answer to that is it really depends on the person. So if the person is in a state of relative remission and you're doing really well, and in your last testing, rapid immune boost came back for using it 3 times a day, and you want to decrease it, you could choose to decrease it, or you could choose to get another cheek swab to get tested for that, or you could choose to decrease it. Remember that pulsing your nutrition when you're in a state of relative remission can be a good thing too. So there's nothing wrong with taking a break or doing what's called nutritional pulsing, and we have some blog posts on this where you might, take the weekend off of your supplements, something like that, and pulse things a little bit. So you might take a week off a month of your supplements, so you kind of just get your body kind of reset, so that when you start taking those supplements again, it's really having a greater effect on your immune system. Now, we don't recommend that if you're not in a state of relative remission, but if you are, there's nothing wrong with doing that. The other reason why I hesitate on the answer to this question is because rapid immune boost is specific immune boosting nutrition like echinacea and such. And if the person does also have autoimmune issues, remember, if you have cancer and you have autoimmune disease, well, your cancer trumps the autoimmune disease, and we need to get that under control first. But if the cancer is now in relative remission and you have an autoimmune disease and you're taking something like rapid immune boost, well, that's going to be a strong immune stimulation, and now your autoimmune symptoms can get worse. So then we want to have a talk about backing off of that or pulsing those specific immune stimulators. So specific immune stimulators like vitamin C, echinacea, cat's claw, things like that, you have to be a little bit more careful with, especially if in remission, if you have an autoimmune disease also, which a lot of people do. But things like medicinal mushrooms, vitamin D, they're immune stimulators, but they're really immune modulators. So when you need an immune stimulation because of a growing cancer or something, they'll act as an immune stimulator. But when the cancer does go into remission and it's slowed down and it's stopped, then they act more as an immune modulator, and they tend not to drive autoimmune diseases. So then those you don't have to worry as much about. So it's really the vitamin C, it's the echinacea, cat's claw kind of things, those herbs that could be more direct immune stimulators that can be more important to pulse or back off of once you're in remission if you have an autoimmune disease. Oh, that's the last of the questions that were emailed in. Any other questions? Yes. You have to unmute if you want to speak.
Hi, Dr. Connors.
Hello.
I was wondering if you could talk about repeated applications of black salve. Today, I was told my doctor believes that we have reached the primary tumor and that we are debulking it, which I did not know. He believes we should leave the wound open and keep going. There's a at the top of the crater, there's a hardened tissue area, and all the rest of the perimeter of the crater is soft. He thinks that applying the salve to that hard area is where the cancer is, and he said he wants to feel all the tissue soft. Do you agree with that? And then how do I keep the crater from healing over, if that's the correct thing to do?
I don't agree with that, but there's nothing wrong with him disagreeing with me. Because what we have seen is if you stop the application, when you have an open wound, you have an open opportunity. So when you stop the application, your body is going to it's starting to heal already. So you might miss your window to get at that cancer, the longer you wait. So that's just our opinion. And we have had people apply back black salve over and over and over and over again, because there's more cancer under there than you can see. So it's not about, oh, there's a shiny spot. I know that's what they teach in the black salve, little classes and stuff. So you need to apply it because it looks like there's a shiny spot there. We're talking about microscopic cells here. So you can't see those. Yeah, if you have a shiny spot, that might be an indication that there's a fairly large mass still there. But my feeling is that you apply it again until you get no reaction.
Okay.
And you keep applying it until you get no reaction. We had one patient with melanoma that he applied it. The last time I talked to him, he was on his 13th application, and it was on his forearm, and he got a size of a silver dollar and the depth of a quarter to a half inch each time he applied out of it.
Wow.
It was just drawing and drawing and drawing and drawing. If he would have stopped, he would be dead. He's still alive because he responded to one of my newsletters a while back. I haven't seen him for a couple of years, but so he just right before Christmas, he applied to thank you on one of my newsletters. So I don't know how many times he did it, because the last time I saw him, he was on number 13. But if he would have stopped at any point in time, I just think that he probably wouldn't still be with us. So I just think that you should keep going as long as you have an opening, and as long as you can hit the cancer, you keep going until it's not drawing anymore. So maybe just ask your doctor who's helping you with that, what their thought is, and share that. And he might have a total difference of opinion that may be sound and may be right as well. So you just asked my opinion. So
Is one last question. Do I apply it all over the open wound that has already had the eschars come off, in addition to new area?
The negative is that if you do that, you've wasted black salve. The positive is that you're not going to have any reaction to the other open wound. It might be a little irritating, but it's not going to be drawing anything if there's no cancer there. So if you could deal with some of the irritation and take some pain medication if you need to, I think it's much in your best interest to do that. So I would apply it to the entire open wound, not just to where you visually think there's still cancer. Cancer
All at
cell, you'd have to have an electron microscope to see it. So
Okay, so I can apply a large surface area all at once.
you can, and I try to remember the last picture you sent in. Maybe it'd be best to schedule a time with Michelle, and she could go over that with you, and you could pick areas, but still, her and I are both in agreement that it's just, you don't want to miss an opportunity.
Okay. Okay. All right. I'll talk more details with her. Thank you.
You bet. Okay, the next question was from Beverly.
Yes, Dr. Connor. Two questions. I did send in a cheek swab not too long ago, and just to let you know that. But I'm concerned. I wrote in earlier about whether or not these sweats, I'm having them day and night, don't know what they're coming from. I think I probably have to submit that as well for testing, and probably have to set up an appointment with you.
Just set up an appointment with me tomorrow if you can, and we'll walk through the different possibilities and maybe get some blood work ordered right away.
Okay. And then there was one other thing, but my mind is slipping my mind right now. So it'll come back to me by the time I'm able to schedule the time with you.
Okay,
So,
make sure you write it down so you don't forget.
Oh yeah, I will. Thank you.
Okay. And Roxanne.
Hi. So I used frankincense with fractionated coconut oil on my breast for 2 years, and then I stopped for a year while I was basically in remission. So now when I use it, I get a rash and itchy, and it feels like I'm going to start leaking. The last time when I was healed, I actually did leak quite a bit out my ducts. But I'm just not sure if I should be using it and let it, if there's something working out, or if it's actually a bad reaction.
So are you leaking through your nipple or are you leaking through a
No,
wound?
I'm not leaking at all now. I did
Okay,
before. Before I was, everything tested clear.
so now
Now
you're just saying you're just getting a rash.
I get, yeah, it feels like it's going to start leaking. It feels like there's pressure. I want to itch it after a couple of days of use.
Yeah, it's hard, it's like, okay, is leaking good if you're applying something and doing some sort of therapy? Is leaking good because you're actually getting, some release of some cells? My first inclination is most likely yes. We see that with colorectal and rectal cancer patients that as the cancer dies, it has to slough off. It's not all going to be carried through the lymph system back to the liver and dealt with that way. Your body's going to try to get rid of it. So the rash itself concerns me more, that it could be causing irritation, but not all irritation is bad either. So we can certainly test to see if that's better, if that's the right thing to do. But to me, if you're getting a reaction, that's more than likely a good thing. I would, if I were you, I'd maybe kind of try to, bear with it for a little while at least, and see what happens. See if you start to get some leakage again. That may be a good thing. So,
Okay, and should I be taking DIM? Nobody ever told me to take DIM.
Well, if it didn't test for you, you don't need to necessarily take it.
So you tested for it.
Yeah. So if we didn't recommend you to take it, then you don't need to be taking it.
Okay.
I mean, there's nothing wrong with taking DIM for anybody because we're exposed to bad estrogens in our environment. But it's just a matter, we're trying to balance out for everybody, that they're not taking a zillion supplements either. So having that balance.
And the last thing is when typically should you start, if you're going to see results, when should you start noticing?
Well, that's hard to objectify because, if you weren't using the Rife, could you have been at this point be twice as bad as you are now? We just don't know.
Yeah.
So, it's the results that we want aren't always the results that God in his sovereign plan has ordained. So we just don't know. If the biggest thing is, if you feel like you're going the wrong way, then we need to recheck for frequencies and stuff. So part of that is, we don't want to be governed by feelings, but we pray for discernment. And, I'm saying you as a patient needs to pray for discernment, whether this is, should I get this, recheck? Should I check the frequencies again? What's the best thing for me? And asking the Lord in your quiet time with him, that I don't want to be making decisions based upon fear, but I don't want to be stupid either. So should I be doing this again? I just really believe that when we go through difficult times like cancer, that we've been given a death sentence, these are the trials that are to drive us to a deeper relationship with him. Yeah. And I know I'm speaking to the choir here, but we all think we have this great relationship with God. Well, it's easy to really think that when everything's going great, but it's really when things aren't going great that the truth of that is revealed. And don't think that to be a bad thing. That's how God disciplines us. He disciplines all his children. And that's how we know we're his child, is that he's revealing to us the areas that we need to work in and work on. So.
Count it, Joe.
um,
I'm actually preaching about this on Sunday.
Oh, that's fantastic. And
Right,
so
thank
we praise God for our trials and our struggles and such, because it drives us closer to him and more dependent upon him. So that's where I want my patients, you guys, to have that kind of relationships where you could go, yeah, I really need to get retested, or no, I need to stay the course and trust God where I'm at right now, or whatever that decision-making process is for you. We'll gladly help you walk through it, to have a conversation. And we're always here if you feel like God wants you to do and get a retest too. So whatever, that's your decision. So good questions. Oh, we had some questions coming in the chat. Sorry, I had it covered up. Is black salve topical for only once? It is an open wound? Yes. Oh, good question. I usually don't answer black salve questions on the Zoom, because it is very personal, and not everybody should be doing black salve, and you really need, very personalized, supervision while you're doing black salve. But black salve is really for once the cancer, if the cancer opens up. Not all cancers obviously are going to come to the surface. We have used black salve on certain cancers that are really close to the surface, but understand the use of black salve brings a whole other complication, and that not everybody's ready for. So because if the tumor, if you have melanoma and you're using black salve on it, you are drawing it through that layer of that epidermal layer, that outer covering of the skin. You're drawing it through that, and it brings issues because it's going to expand the cancer. It's going to be very painful. You usually need pain medication with a melanoma, and it could take several weeks for the tumor to come out. And like we said earlier, you might have to make multiple applications to continue to pull the tumor. But I think it's far better than surgery for melanomas. So yes, it has to be open, or the skin, or it has to be very close to the skin, like a skin cancer. I also emailed in late Rife questions. I did not see those. Let's talk about them. Positioning in bed, shutting down my computer, crossing cords, etc. Can these be addressed? No, let's talk about them right now. So positioning in the bed. So again, the best way you should, in my mind, that you should use the Rife is you should cuddle with the bulb. Do you have to worry about the cords crossing, that the cords are twisted? No, you don't. With the F117, it was maybe a little bit more of an issue. With the F22 that you do not need to worry about that. The only thing that I would say, you might want to be aware of that, because if the cords are all twisted, it's going to shorten the cords, and that would be the only thing. Another question tied to this is, do you need skin to bulb contact? The answer is no. It will go through your undershirt, but I frequently put the bulb underneath my undershirt, but I don't always do that. Lots of times it'll just lay by my side. Lots of times I'll be snuggling with it, and I'll wake up to go to the bathroom at night, and it's by my side. That's fine. The bulb goes out, the treatment goes out a good 6 to 8 to 10 feet. But again, the closer you are to it, the closer it is to your tumor, the better. So I just think that you should just snuggle with it, keep it close to your body, and get used to that, and just be, prayed before you go to bed. Lord, use these frequencies. You made everything as a frequency, everything down to the smallest particles, just energy that's vibrating at a frequency. Use this to stimulate my cancer, to stimulate my immune system, to kill this cancer. I pray in Jesus' name, and just snuggle with your bulb. Shutting down your computer. I don't think you need to shut down the computer. We've tested these computers with EMF meters, but when you have the computer open, you're going to have more EMFs coming from the computer itself. But if you go out even 6 inches, the EMFs dissipate pretty much. if once the computer goes to sleep, even if you leave it open, the EMFs go way down. But I think you should just shut the computer. I don't think you need to turn it off, because then you need to turn it on and reboot it again. So if you just shut the computer, it just goes to sleep, and then you don't have to worry about that. The Rife programs shut down once completed. Yes, the Rife programs, it will run the program out, and once the program is done, it would just shut down. Now the machine itself, the toggle switch is still on, so that little light will stay on, but it won't be emitting any light through the bulb once the program is done. Quite honestly, lots of times I'll get up to go to work and I leave my Rife on because I just never shut it off, and it just times itself out. Maybe I still have an hour left of the program, depending on what time I went to bed. So it will just time itself out. There's not going to hurt anything. So lots of times I won't turn it off. Lots of times I'll just reach down, toggle the machine off, so that I don't have to open the program and open the computer in the morning and do it that way. So you could just toggle it off on the front of the machine. So it will run the course of the program. Actually, if you have your computer connected to your Rife and once you hit run on the computer, it sends the program to the Rife. You could technically disconnect your computer and put it in the other room if you wanted to. You're not getting any EMFs from the computer if you shut the computer. So there's no need to do that. So, yep, you don't need to shut the computer down. You could just close the laptop. That's what we suggest people do. So you're not having to reboot the computer every morning or every night again. The only reason why you do something like that is for the EMFs from the computer. But you know, we've tested it with the EMF meter. Once you close it, you're really not getting, there's no EMFs coming from it. We do suggest, though, to remember, and this is a good reminder for everybody, that you should have your computer in airplane mode all the time. You should have your Wi-Fi off on your computer, so it's not pulling any Wi-Fi from your Wi-Fi. So there's no reason for you to have your Rife computer connected to Wi-Fi at any time, unless you're updating your frequencies. So you should have it in airplane mode. That will really diminish the amount of EMFs that's coming from your computer. Next, some Rife programs shut the computer down hard once completed or run. Others do not. Is this a sign of an issue? No. It's just so when you're running frequencies through that bulb, but if you leave your computer open and your bulb is fairly close to the computer, you'll notice that the computer will go a little wonky. Like typically you can look at your computer and it's timing down. Let's say your program is 9 hours and 52 minutes and it's timing down second by second, and you can watch it. If the bulb is pretty close to it, it can interfere with that. So, and then people will say, oh my gosh, it's not timing down correctly, or it's timing up or something like that. As long as it's running the program. Don't worry about that. These are frequencies and they are going to interfere with your computer. So, but once you hit run on the computer, it sent the program to the Rife machine, and the computer is doing nothing except it's showing you the status of what is running if you keep the computer open. But if you have the bulb too close to the computer, that status of what the computer is running can get all wonked up. So because the Rife works, the frequencies are interfering with the computer. That's okay. That's why we don't suggest you even look at that. What's the reason for you to look at the timing or the timer or what's going on with your program? You're running the program. So just hit run, close the computer. So there's no need to know that or even see that. You don't need the EMFs from the computer. You get enough EMFs from computers and your cell phone all day long, and your Wi-Fi and everything else. So again, just like going back to the first question about Wi-Fi and EMFs, we want to try to reduce that, and the cumulative effect is just having ill effect on our body. Bulb is not too close. This happens with the foot bath too. It'll happen even more with the foot bath because of the frequencies that you're running. I always close the computer. It's not the timer that changes, it's the computer shuts down or off. So the computer is just shutting down or turning off. Oh, maybe that's an issue with the computer. These aren't the most expensive computers in the world. If it becomes a problem and it's like, this is kind of a pain to be turning on the computer each time, let us know. We'll replace that and send that one back. So that's a little different thing. So now I understand that. Thank you. Yeah, so if it becomes an issue, let us know and we'll replace that. Sometimes you can have issues with your screens too. That's one of the cheapest things on these computers are the screens. So if that becomes an issue, let us know too. Anything else? Well, do remember, if you want these videos, they're all going to be in the back office, but that's not going to be for another month. So this one is what other tests should I do video? What else did I make just recently? Here's one right here. If you want any of these, let your liaison know and they can send you the YouTube link, because you can't see it on our YouTube channel because we don't want them out to the public. Here's another one. It's what's the difference between hyperthermia and the sauna. That's a shorter one and easy one to understand. They're two completely different tools. And then I made some other Q&A videos that could help. Maybe your liaison sent some other ones out. Here's another one. What is it called? Oh, no, that was the Zoom call. And if you do want the video of the Zoom calls, let your liaison know, because we're starting to record them again. That can, so if you missed last week's, I did last week's, and that could be helpful to you as well. So, all right. Any other questions? All right, we'll call it a night. If you want the recording of this, it will be ready tomorrow. Ask your liaison. I will put it in our clinic chat so that they can send it to you too. All right, thanks you guys. Know I'll be praying for you all. And just another reminder to just, understand the sovereignty of God in all things, and that look at, through this, allowed this to drive you to look at, well, who else? I need to have a stronger prayer life. Who else should I be praying for? Please be praying for us. Please be praying for all of our patients, praying for other people that have struggles as well, and see this as an opportunity to sharpen that character quality as well. All right, love you all, prayed for all of you, and we'll see you next week.